Hello, Libronauts.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight for the discussion of The Light Pirate by Lily Brooks-Dalton. I, of course, am Elise, the main host, and tonight I have with me Gwen as my co-host.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I was so honored. I really was so excited when you announced a sci-fi, book club. I was like, this is a niche that's been missing in my life. And then you asked me to be a co-host. I was like, yes, girl. Yeah, so I was just so honored that you invited me. And of course, you kind of let me pick the book too. You were like, do you have anything on your radar? And I was like, this book, and you were like, sure, let's do it. I was like, yay. So I got something off my TBR, and now I get to talk about it with somebody, which is the most important part for me.
Yes. Honestly, when you picked this one, I'd heard of it, obviously, from Book of the Month. I had no idea that it was dystopian, none whatsoever.
Yeah, same. I actually had this woman come on my podcast. Her Instagram is the book.
Uh-oh. So guys, Gwen is having a little bit of internet connection issues tonight. So this might happen. She might fall off. So we just kind of need to be a little bit patient. Oh no, Gwen. Well, in the meantime, let's check on comments here. Hello, Melissa. Thanks for joining. Hey, Sam. All right, so Sam's that, oops, I can just go ahead and show that here. I found this one really interesting. Gave me a lot of anxiety going to Florida in a couple weeks. Ooh, yes, I can understand that. But also found it super impactful, between a 3 and 4 stars, so 3.5. Nice. Yeah, that's a pretty fair rating. What is it on Goodreads? I can't remember. I think I had pretty high ratings. Oh yeah, there went Gwen. She'll hopefully be back in a couple minutes. This happened when we were backstage as well. So on Goodreads, The Light Pirate rated 4.05, and it has 32,000 ratings. And I'm sure a lot of people heard of it from Book of the Month. That's where I heard of it from. Yeah, so I mean, it seems to be pretty well received by the masses, which is awesome. And honestly, as Gwen said, this was one that she picked. I kind of was like, hey, if you have any sci-fi, dystopian, speculative books on your radar. Hey, Jess. Thanks for joining. Hey, Hannah. Gwen is here. She's just having internet issues, so she had to disconnect and will hopefully be back here in just a couple minutes. Hello, Jules. Didn't read the book, but here for support. Oh, thank you. Just a heads up, we are going to get into some spoilers, so just keep that in mind if you haven't read the book and you're just kind of sticking around. So anyways, oh gosh, what was I saying? So yeah, I had asked Gwen, I was like, hey, if you have any dystopian books already on your radar, let me know, because I didn't necessarily have anything picked, and she brought this to my attention, and I'm so glad she did, and we'll get into that. All right, let's see. I don't see Gwen back yet. Let's see if she messaged me on Instagram real quick. Oh, yep. Let's see. Bear with us, guys. Oh, okay.
I'm so
Hello.
I am so sorry. I was telling Elise before, I was like, girl, of course, on book club day, my internet is not cooperating. So I'm sorry, and I hate this because I'm so excited to discuss the book. But let's get to it. So my internet is here now. So I actually heard about this book from someone on my podcast that came on and talked about it. And she said that when she heard about it, it kind of sounded like a fantasy book, like a pirate book or something like that.
Yeah.
And she said, people were like, no, that's not it at all. So she had someone pitch it to her, and she pitched it to me. And I was like, this sounds amazing. So I went out to Pango, purchased a copy, and then literally the next month you were like, hey, do you want to be on my sci-fi book club? I was like, yes, I do. Let's talk about this book. So here we are. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. While you were gone, oh yeah, queen of internet problems.
Yes, she really is.
Whoopsies. While you were gone, I just kind of went over the Goodreads like rating on this. Like there's 4.05. Oh no, are you frozen again? Oh no. Okay, well, we will jump into it as best we can. Yeah. Yeah, where are the pirates? I kind of felt that way as well, Hannah. I agree. Alrighty. So I was gonna have Gwen go over the synopsis, but looks like I'm gonna have to take charge of that a little bit. So, um, of course, The Light Pirate. This book takes place in Florida. Um, I don't think the year was necessarily ever mentioned, but it's of course during a time where weather is very harsh. The hurricanes, they they're hitting the coast and they are getting worse and worse every year. Um, and it's kind of getting to the point where people are starting to evacuate. The government is starting to evacuate people out of major cities like Miami. Um, and we kind of start with Frida, and she is pregnant. She's pregnant with a baby girl, and she's, feeling very apprehensive. There's a hurricane coming, and she kind of feels like, she should get out of there. She's married to Kirby, and he has two sons from a previous marriage, and we kind of jump right into the story. It just kind of jumps right in to the action of this hurricane that is dubbed Hurricane Wanda. Um, and things happen and the story kind of just gets rolling, and we ultimately follow Wanda throughout her life, both seeing her character development as well as, oh, here's Gwen. Hi.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Oh, you're good. I was just going over the synopsis of the book.
Okay. You want me
So
to I can do it. You want me to do it?
okay,
You're
sure.
like, "No."
I if you want to take over, I basically, talked about the opening scene, and then I jumped into how we're following Wanda's life and seeing her develop and the destruction of Florida.
Yeah, I think that was what was so interesting is I didn't know like too much. I only knew her pitch, but basically the story follows the Lowe family and Wanda, the child that is born during this catastrophic storm. And as they navigate like the collapse of civilization, and it all takes place in Florida, which I've lived there, so that was a little eerie for me. And then there were all that when I was reading it in, the United States, there were all these storms coming in. So I was like, "Oh no." But it explores themes of survival, family, the beauty and violence of like wilderness and untamable wilderness. It's split into four different parts, and each of those like thrusts you forward in Wanda's life. So you get to see, basically from before she's even born until much later in life. And then of course, the hurricanes get fiercer, the weather gets crazier, and we just kind of see as like the state completely collapses. And it's a very like character forward novel. Yeah, okay, that's what I would say.
Yeah. Well said. Yeah, and I had heard too that it had a very almost historical fiction feel, and I did kind of see that, just how interwoven you get to be as the reader into the life of Wanda and those around her. And this isn't honestly typically a book that I would usually read or pick up, but
Mhm.
I pretty much immediately was hooked. And actually, I started this book on Monday. I went to Canada with my family for an extended off the grid weekend. And on our way home, we had a 5-hour drive home. I started this on the way as soon as we got in the car to leave and head back home. And I only put it down when we like stopped for gas. Like
Oh
I
my
was,
goodness, yeah. Yeah, I love that feeling. When a book can suck you in like that, there's nothing better.
yeah. All right. So I did put in the comments, but I think only one person answered. But if you guys did read it, let us know. Let us know what your overall rating was. Um, now, Lily Brooks-Dalton has written a couple other books, I think 2 other books. Have you read any others by her?
I haven't, but after
Okay.
reading this, I think it did it say both of her books in here that she wrote? No, I think it does. Good Morning Midnight and Motorcycles I've Loved. So
Mhm.
Motorcycles I've Loved is her memoir. And I
Yeah.
think that's so cool that she's into motorcycles. I was like, how cool is that? And then Good Morning Midnight, there's actually a movie on Netflix based on that, but it has a different name. I forget the
Oh,
name of it, but I was like, ooh, I kind of do want to read it because obviously the memoir is going to be totally different than this book. But I was like,
yeah.
ooh, I'm actually I mean, I do like memoirs too, so I might pick that one up eventually, but I haven't read anything else by her yet.
Yeah. Yeah, the, that Good Morning Midnight, that looks pretty good, and the cover that they have on Goodreads kind of reminds me of, like, Station 11.
Yeah,
It's
it does.
night sky, yeah. Yeah, the writing was really good, I agree. Alrighty, so what again, I was a person that had no idea this was dystopian at all.
Yeah.
So, what were some elements that made this book dystopian?
Well, pretty much all of it. I think more about like just the collapse. Like in the beginning, like things were okay, I guess.
Mhm.
It sounds very scrambly to me. So I'm sorry if that's, I don't know if it's just on my end or what. Do
You
I sound
sound okay.
scrambly?
Nope, you
Okay,
sound
that's good. I'll just deal with it then, as long as
okay.
I sound okay over there. But it starts off normal-ish, like you know that there's a storm coming in and stuff like that. But quickly after that, especially when we get into the second part, um, businesses are closing, um, just like government facility buildings are closing. They're having to like live off grid like you were. Um, just the climate itself trapping people in areas and making
Mhm.
it harder to get to other areas. Um, yeah, lots of different things, but all like climate kind of fiction,
Yeah,
by the climate and then the fall of society because of the climate.
right. Yeah, and it was kind of, heartbreaking because it's said in the book at one point, or multiple points really, that, like, major cities like Miami were helping to evacuate people, and kinda help funding that as well, like, doing what it could to get people out safely, and it was said that this oh gosh, I can't remember the name of the town now, that they live in,
Yeah, is it a
but
real town? I never looked that up. Is it like a Rudder?
oh, yes,
Rudder?
yes.
Okay.
I don't know though, I didn't even think to look that
Let
up.
me I wanna look it up because I didn't think to look it up. I just thought it was fictional.
Yeah,
Um, well, they have a yeah, I don't think it's real. Camp Rudder, Florida maps. So it may be just like a made up small town in Florida.
yeah, but it was
But they
just
do
sad that, nobody was helping them, nobody they
yeah.
were kind of
Well, I
left to
think
kind
they kind of knew I didn't really get a sense of how things were in that first part. It seemed
of
pretty bad,
yeah,
but not like catastrophic yet.
right,
And it seemed like even in the beginning, as the family was still all there, and before Wanda, um, that they were kind of like a small community, and they were already kind of like cut off, and yeah, so it kind of seemed like it was already bad. And they would mention other cities and other states and how things were happening. Like they mentioned Miami, like people had left Miami and stuff like that. I mean, we know Miami's real. But yeah, so
um,
isolation. Yeah.
yes, yeah, yes, it did have a very, very isolated atmosphere, and that's actually, an interesting take too because there's the isolation versus community aspect, which, we do see later on in the book, and it's just kind of interesting to see how much more successful, in the face of destruction, in the face of catastrophe, that humans are in a community. It's like we need
Yeah.
each other. Like we're meant to
Yeah.
be in a community.
Yeah. It's kind of like The Walking Dead, if anybody's ever seen that show, how like, no, they didn't fall because of climate. They fell because of like this virus and their zombies and all of that. But you just saw on the show how like the vegetation grew and they would find like a couple little people and then they would group together and move together through the world. And then they'd find a couple other people would die off and things would happen. But they always like sought out that community and stuff like that. And some communities thrived better than others.
Right. Let's see. So some other things just that I made note of. So you did mention like the climate change, the harsh weather, societal collapse. And basically the term that I had kind of come across multiple times, not necessarily in the book, but in trying to like look at comparables, was just environmental apocalypse, which you
Mhm.
always hear apocalypse, but it's that seems more of like,
Like the
people.
zombie apocalypse
Yeah,
or something,
exactly.
like a virus or
Yeah,
like even things like that. I've never read anything based on the weather and
yeah,
weather patterns and stuff, so
right. It's like the bad guy in the book was the weather.
and it's also not something you can cure,
Right.
so it's a little bit different. I mean, this is outside of our control. I mean, we can protect ourselves from it to some extent, but like with a virus, you can search for a cure.
Mhm.
And hope that that works. But
Yeah.
with climate, we humans don't have control over that. So we just have to kind of deal with it and protect ourselves. And, you know, sometimes
Yeah.
that's easier than others.
Yeah. All right. Hannah also says being on a different planet vibes. Yeah, definitely. Especially with like, it made me think of Waterworld a little bit with Kevin Costner.
Yeah. I mean, that's such an old movie, but I love it.
It's just like surrounded by water.
Yeah. Crazy.
Hi, Keisha. Thanks for joining. Community is so much more important than we realize. Yes. Thanks.
I don't know.
Oh, okay, let's see. So we saw multiple responses to disaster. We saw various people's reactions to it. Like, for instance, Phyllis, she's like a doomsday prepper. She was like a
Love
survivalist.
Phyllis.
Me too. Oh my goodness. She's my favorite.
Yeah.
um, and then, of course, in the beginning, I mean, Frida, she was kind of like red flags. She's like, we need to get out of here. We need to get out of here. Um, and then, Kirby and his son, oh no, whose name I'm blanking on, Lucas? Is
Yeah.
that what it was?
Lucas and Flip. Yeah. I know.
Um,
Sorry. Bringing up Flip.
but the fact that they were linemen, I thought was really awesome. Like, even in the midst of these storms, it's like, again, like you said, not at the point where they were catastrophic, but still pretty bad. And they're still going out there and risking their lives to make sure that their community has power. And that's just so heroic. It's like they stayed to help their community.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
and
so
then,
funny because I know I said it, but I was like, it wasn't that bad. But like in comparison to like us right
yeah.
now, it was terrible. But yeah, because they were just having problems even in that first part to keep the
Mhm.
electricity on, and certain parts would go down. And they're like, how long are we going to have it for? And, they had the cooler of food and not like I don't know. It was crazy.
Yeah, and, like, Kirby would say, like, "Open it and close it as
Real
fast as you
quick.
can."
Yeah. Like do it real
Like,
quick and stuff like
yeah.
crazy, crazy.
Um, so yeah, like I said, various reactions to disaster, and again, the government. I mean, I felt bad, but it seemed like at least the post office in Rudder, like, tried to hang on as long as they could.
Yeah, I think at some point you gotta cut your losses, you know what I'm saying? And they did send in like like the National Guard or whatever, like equivalent of that is to try to get people out. They're like, look, we're condemning this place. We ain't coming back. Like you
Yeah,
are either with us or you're staying and you're on your own. So they did try to help, but I just feel like there's never enough. There's never enough help. There's never enough money. There's never enough, people just don't have like because the people that work in those businesses also have to decide to get out,
yeah,
and save their family. But the town, it started with the town itself. Like it was like, oh, the pizza place is closed down. Oh, this place is closed down. So it's like businesses that they would go to, like they would eat out rarely. And I just remember that pizza place being closed. And I was like, okay, so the food supply is closing down because they can't even get supplies in to be able to do those type of things. And then as it slowly got like worse and worse and worse, yeah, it was the government is like, okay, we're going to cut our losses. We need to make it here to safety. And yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned the money aspect, and that reminded me of, when Kirby had gone to, like, the city hall or whatever, like, trying to get approval for overtime for his crew, and the guy's basically just like, "Hey, do you see me? I'm packing, like, we're done."
Yeah, I'm really out of here. I'm leaving. Goodbye.
Oh, alright, let's see, catch up on comments a little bit. Hello, thanks for joining. Alright, Sam says, "It was interesting how they sent more help to the bigger cities," which I feel like is a lot more relatable to things that happen nowadays. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think bigger cities have more infrastructure.
Yeah,
Um, it obviously cities are more populated, and I feel like, you'd rather save 100 than save 2.
yeah.
I mean, as sad as that is. But that's in a lot of professions, So I think that they were trying to move people to the bigger cities because that's where they were getting the most help and they were able to do the most help.
Mhm.
So makes
Yeah.
sense.
When the school went, I was like, this isn't gonna be good." Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it made me nervous because when Wanda would say, like, every time that they go back to school after a storm, there's less and less kids, I was thinking, "Oh, no, something happened to them," but it sounded like it was their families were
Yeah.
finally like, "Okay, no, we're done. We're
I
outta
had the
here."
same thought. I was like, "What's happening to the kids?"
Yeah. Oh,
But, yeah, I mean, I was glad nothing bad was happening to the kids, but, yeah, it just seemed like more and more families were getting out of there.
yeah. Yeah. Alright, so what would you do in this situation? Are you a
Well,
Phyllis or
obviously, I have no idea what I would do in this situation. Um, I guess it would just depend. I do feel like I'm a hunker and stay type of person, though.
Mhm.
So I probably would have stayed. The only, like, slightly thing, and I know people hate talking about it, but the thing that happened in 2020 that we all are very aware about.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people went, like, stir crazy, and it wasn't good for them. I was fine. Like, I miss going to do the things that I did? Yeah, but I am a homebody.
Mhm.
I am fine. I like nature. I like being outside. I have all the skills needed, but neither did the people in this,
Mhm.
and they were, some of them were able to make it. So I think I would stay, but it
Yeah.
also depends on like what my family unit looked like and
Mhm.
what they wanted to do, because I think I would always choose my family over what I personally wanted to do. So I think we would make a decision as a family and then kind of like, let's vote. All right, majority rules, like, let's do it. But I would be fine staying behind,
Yeah.
hopefully. So what about you? What would you do?
Well, I mean, I agree with you, like, I also am a homebody, I am fine being home all the time, um, and I think just because of how much I like to be at home, like, if I'm away on vacation, yes, I'm having fun, but then after a certain point, I'm like, "Okay, I need to get back to my own space, my own routines." So, it would be hard for me to think about picking up and leaving, but I'm fairly certain that after a certain point, I would probably have joined the masses that were
Yeah,
evacuating.
it's crazy to think about. I think the reason why I say that I would stay is because I know what happens in this book, and I know the outcome of her staying.
True.
But when I look at, like, what happened in Louisiana and stuff like that with that big storm that came through, and they were literally rescuing people off the top of their roofs of their house,
Yeah.
um, then I'm like, "Heck no, get me out of there." You know what I'm saying? Or like in Australia where they had all those fires and all those poor little koalas were getting hurt and stuff, like, "Get me out of there," you know?
Yeah.
So I think if I knew I was gonna be okay, so I'm more on your side. Like, I would probably stay and hunker to a certain point,
Mm.
and then if I but it's hard to judge because, like, we don't know
Yeah.
these things, but I think I would try to stay, and then when I was like, "Oop, we can't do this anymore," I would be out. So,
Yeah.
that's my final answer.
Alrighty, let's see what folks said.
Let us know, what would you guys do? Stay or go, stay or go.
Oh, here we go. Giving horror flight, yeah. When schools shut down and now we're suffering because of it, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. There's so many consequences of something like this. You know,
Mhm.
I could have kept reading this and like, tell me what's going to happen in 20 years. Where
Yeah,
are they now?
I would be out of there, no convincing necessary. I hear ya. Girls, same, had no problem chilling at home during that time. Yeah, and honestly, when there was a mask mandate, I kinda loved it because I'm very, like, socially awkward, and
Same.
when I walk past somebody, I feel like I'm supposed to look at them and say hi, but I'm like, "Hi." So,
Yeah,
like, the mask
exactly.
cover up, it's
You're
like,
like, I
"Sorry."
can't talk. Sorry. Yes.
Inner soul thinks I could be a survivalist, but realistically, I probably wouldn't
This
make
is
it out.
me. This is me, Sam. This is me.
Oh, Goner Dayline.
No,
Yeah,
you wouldn't.
there are certain things, like, just in thinking of, like, if there was, like, a zombie apocalypse, for example, that's where I'd be like, "Nope, I'm done." Like, I don't even wanna try.
I am not a fighter.
No. Would have stayed as long as I could. When they said, "This is the last truck," I would have kept yeah, that's probably
But
if
see,
not
okay,
before.
here's my thinking behind that, Melissa, is I'm like, is it the last truck or is there going to be one more? And that's where I'd get in trouble because people would have to be pulling me onto that last truck.
Yeah. But then you might be sitting there like, "Oh, no, that was the last truck."
Yeah, now I'm screwed.
Yeah. Grew up on a farm, know how to hunt, so I think would be okay staying for a while, but it would be incredibly hard. I'm not a Phyllis. Yeah, no, me neither.
I am kind of more of a Phyllis because obviously I don't eat meat.
Mhm.
So I'm not like a super Phyllis, but my mom is. So maybe that
Yeah.
would be helpful. Yeah, she knows all about like those mushrooms you can eat and which ones you can't. And I'm like, I would die. First mushroom I picked, I'd be a goner. But my
Like,
mom could help me out with that.
all right. So, does this book, in your opinion, offer any realistic portrayal of a possible future? Like, is this our future? Are we looking at it in this
I
book?
don't think the storm related, but I
Mhm.
do think there are obviously, I mean, if you don't like just go on the internet and look at like zoom the, timeline forward, our map is going to change. There's going to
Mhm.
be parts in California that are no longer going to be there in 2050, 100, 150 years. Am I
Mhm.
going to see it in my lifetime? I don't know, but parts of California are going to disappear. The
Mhm.
coast, the whole coast, there's going to be parts of the United States that slowly get eroded away or sunk down in water or whatever. So cities disappearing, that's a real thing. Atlantis, that's a real thing. That like literally happened. So 100% cities, towns, all of that can disappear.
Mhm.
Based on weather, I hope not. And if it happens, I want to be gone because I don't want
Mhm.
to see it because it's just like who likes storms like that anyway. I mean, I have lived through a tornado before and that was pretty rough, but I did it.
Yeah.
It's just, storms are very scary anyway. And so, but I mean, who knows what's going to happen with the sun? If anything ever happens to the sun, we're all toast anyway. At least it will
Mhm.
happen quick though.
Yeah.
So, but I'm a big, like, my husband is a big science person and also like a big NASA person. So, yeah, I'm like, it could happen, but I hope I'm gone.
Yeah.
So, but the city's going away and crumbling and, people having to like move inland and stuff like that. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I just like I mean, I have no real data because I've not actually like researched this, but it almost feels like the severity and the number of tornadoes that happen every year is increasing, and the severity of like all the hurricanes on the East Coast and the Gulf is getting worse, and all the wildfires on the West Coast and up in Canada. So, and it's and I think I saw something, it was on TikTok, so I don't know how valid it was, but
Yeah,
talking about how the volcano in
everywhere. But
yeah,
yeah,
the one, like, up in Wyoming or Montana, I'm totally blanking on the name of it, holy
yeah.
cow. It's, like, a
Hmm.
very well-known volcano, but
Hmm.
that it's, like, well overdue
Yeah.
for interruption and how that's going to affect the surrounding areas.
And I think that right now, it's so subtle
Mhm.
that you don't really notice it.
Mhm.
It starts slow, little things. You're like, oh, we've had, we used to have 3 tornadoes. Now we had 5. It's like, yeah, it can happen. But then the next year it's 6 and then 7. So yeah, it's a slow thing, but 100% agree. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, someone said they live in Chile where they have more earthquakes than any other country.
Oh,
So we're
wow.
definitely coming off the map. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Praying for you and
Yeah.
Chile and all the other, countries and cities and places like that. I mean, it's happening.
Yeah. That's so scary.
Even in the Outer Banks in North Carolina, sometimes we'll get the big, like, not like necessarily like a hurricane, for instance, but I mean, there have been hurricanes that have gone through, but just even like the bands of the hurricane or whatever have washed out, like, roads and stuff like that. And depending how long it takes you to get back to normal, to be able to get back to that part of, the road and get, people back there, business closed in 2020,
Mhm.
and we were, quote unquote, fine. Like, we weren't, I mean, we just couldn't go out. So imagine if there was something catastrophic that was keeping us, more things would close. You
Mm.
can't, if there's not a grocery store, if there's not a school, if there's not a pizza place, what heck good is this place? I'm
Yeah.
out of here. So yeah.
Oh, and yeah, see, that's where I would probably die because I wouldn't know how to feed myself.
You're like, I'm sorry, I'm not growing corn. What is this?
Try not to think about it, but yes, I see many things in this book that could become reality. It's scary. Yeah, and I live in Michigan. I'm up in the
There we
Pinky,
go.
didn't get the right way. And I'm surrounded by the Great Lakes, and it's like I never know if something happens with like flooding and stuff. Like, I'd like to think I'm safe, but I don't, probably not, right? And
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm right by the water. So,
Yeah.
oh, and there's lots of inland lakes and tons of other states, and
Yeah.
oh, it's very scary. I'm starting to get really anxious now talking about.
Yeah. It's okay. It's not happening right now. It's not going to happen in our lifetime. We're okay. Oh
Oh,
my
I
goodness.
agree. The land we have won't always be here. We've had so many storms that I can believe that the weather is going to change more and more. Yeah, for sure. Whoopsies. Totally think it is, but also don't want to think about it. Yep, I'm with you, Sam.
Samey.
I think Sam's the one that said earlier too that the book gave her a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not growing corn. I
Oh my goodness.
was thinking about the Great Lakes too. Yeah, we gone. Yeah. No, don't tell me that, Sam.
No, you guys are going to be great.
And we don't even have tall trees, but we have a lot of boats. So that's good.
I mean, yeah, that's a bonus of
Yeah.
living near the lakes,
Yes.
if the flooding happens, you're prepared. If
Yes.
something else happens, maybe not so much.
Yep.
Elise turns into a prepper after this book discussion.
My YouTube algorithm's gonna change with all the new videos I'm gonna start watching.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So the book was split up into 4 different parts. So we had power, water, light, and time. How do you feel that that kinda led the book or represented the different
I
sections?
Yeah, this is something that I struggled with because I didn't really understand the titles of the different ones
Mhm.
necessarily. I mean, I kind of did. It's like I feel like I did, but I feel like there's also deeper meaning to it. So power is obviously like you were saying, he was a lineman, the power was going out. She was wanting him to shutter up the windows and stuff like that. The water was obviously the storms and the water and the flooding and stuff like that. The light was obviously her power, and
Mhm.
then the time, I guess, was just the passage of time. Is that what you got from that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I liked it, and I liked how, to be honest, I had no idea this book was gonna be about Wanda. I was so interested in all of the stuff that was happening in the first part, and then what happened at the end of the first part. Can I spoil it? Yeah, when she
Yes.
dies
Yep.
giving birth to Wanda, I was like, where's this book headed? Like, what's going on? And I was like, Oh, so then I had to read the synopsis and I was like, oh, this book is about Wanda. That makes like total sense now.
Yeah.
But at first I was just like, what is happening? And so, yeah, from there, I like how it pushed us ahead. It didn't like, okay, and now she's 1 day old and now she's 2 days old. I like that it
Mhm.
was like, okay, 10 years. And then it was like further. And then like by the end, like, we end of life or what's
Yeah.
going on? I don't know. But yeah, I liked that it pushed the timeline ahead to show you a passage of time and how
Mhm.
it kind of like some parts were longer than others, like that last part was like so quick, which I was
It
kind of
was
glad.
very
It was like my least favorite part. But yeah, I liked seeing like, okay, what's the consequence of that? What's going to happen now? And because people are just dying.
Mhm. Yeah,
So I liked it. I liked the different parts and how it thrust us forward in time to see what was going on.
for sure. Yeah, and I think for the most part, I had, like, the same interpretation as you. Um, in Power, I definitely did think a lot, obviously, about the lineman and trying to it's like, that's when the power was, like, going away, basically, and they're
Mhm.
trying so hard to keep a hold of it. But then also, I was thinking of, like, the power of the storm that came,
Yeah.
like, set in motion the rest of the story. So,
Mhm.
I don't know, that's kinda why I thought of that, and then the water aspect, water seemed to be a recurring theme, and I feel like the descriptions of water, it was just the book felt very wet between the water outside that they had to, like, row in the canoe, the water that was on their skin from the humidity, and just how sweaty everything
Yeah,
was.
it made it seem so swampy to me, which I mentioned in the Discord channel that it reminded me of Where the Crawdads Sing. And I was
Mhm,
like, I have not read that book. Okay. I have no legs to stand on here. But I was like, for some reason, I think swamp when I think that book. And I was like, this
mhm.
felt swampy to me,
Yeah,
you know?
mhm. Honestly, I was surprised we didn't get more on, like, alligators. I was expecting them
Yeah.
to be a bigger problem.
Or just anything in the water besides what was it, the manatee? Or it wasn't the manatee, was it?
Oh, yeah,
Was it the
manatees.
manatee? Yeah. That's
Oh, I love that
that was
part.
so scary at
But
first though. I don't know. Like like I said, I've lived in Florida. I've
yeah.
seen the manatees. I don't know if I would be swimming with the manatees. I don't know.
Oh, they were so sweet.
But yeah.
Let's
And then
see.
but trying to imagine that like when she went back to the blue house and it was
Mhm,
like you couldn't live there anymore.
mhm,
Like water and how like basically things that she used to be able to like walk on the road like were underwater now and like you're having to build like continuously build and find new places because like you said you need that boat. You need
mhm.
that boat.
Yep. Start living in the trees.
Mhm.
Alright, Jules says, "I mean, I would attempt to grow food, but pretty sure." Yeah, no, me too, honestly. And I have a black thumb. There are so many plants, if it's not the lowest maintenance plant, like a succulent or a bamboo, it dies. I
It's
cannot keep them alive. I don't understand why.
oh my goodness.
Ugh. Oops. Think this book will be seen in the future as a warning we didn't see coming. That very well could be. Yeah.
Scary.
I thought her dad was the light pirate. Oh, because he tries to keep the lights on.
Yeah, that
Oh,
makes sense.
I like that. Then I realized that it was her. Yeah. And I know Hannah said earlier, like, "Where's the pirates?" I guess if she's oh no, did Gwen freeze? Oh no.
Did I come back?
Oh, I hear you. Yay. Okay.
Okay. I was like, "Please don't let me go anywhere."
Let's see. Some descriptions of water matched her situation and feelings. I thought this book was brilliant, one of the best I've ever read. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some examples of like when something kind of chaotic was going on at obviously the beginning when Frida goes into late preterm labor and the storm is like raging outside. And then of course Flip and Lucas are running around and then trying to get back home. Okay, so let's talk about Flip and Lucas for a second.
Yeah.
I was at, and obviously, guys, this is a spoiler. But I was devastated because Flip sounded like such a good little boy. He was the younger brother, and he was the one that, like, actually seemed to like Frida, or that Frida felt like she had a bit of a connection with, and where Lucas was just more of, you know, not connecting with her. And so when they got lost in the storm and they went to the blue house and they were banging on the door and Phyllis grabbed one, I was convinced that the little boy that she grabbed was Flip. And
Yeah.
then Herbie gets there and you find out it's Lucas. I started bawling and I felt
Yeah.
terrible that I had a favorite. I mean, Lucas grew on me as the story went on, obviously, but oh my gosh, in that one moment though, I was devastated. I was like, Flip, no.
Yeah, it was you never want to see any of that happen. But yeah, it was really, really sad.
Yeah. But and it was kind of clever, I think, because I honestly, I think the author did that on purpose. Like, I think we were supposed to think that it was Flip,
Yeah.
and then it wasn't.
Yeah. That was not fair because he was the one that went to the house, right?
But
Phyllis's house,
I don't
or was
remember.
it Lucas?
I don't
I don't know,
remember.
but all I know is I didn't like it.
Yeah. Do, do. Give me where the credits sing vibe. I haven't read that either, but ooh, there's a dog. I don't know if you can hear it barking.
Yeah, and the connection to nature. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, very isolated, but also so content in nature. I know.
Yeah.
So sad. Was sad for Lucas because he spent his life making up for it. Yeah. And yeah, like I said, I mean, he really did grow on me. He was just a little when he was like a what,
He was a
10
little jerk. Yeah.
years. He really was.
Yeah.
But- oh yeah, yep. So it was the older one that wanted, oh yes, 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 because Frida's like, boys, stay here. I need to go lay down.
And he
And
and he was like, "No, let's
yep,
just go. We'll be fine." And
oh
then yeah, and so Flip had wanted to stay at the house,
yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then they went to like some abandoned neighbor's house and were just farting around as the storm's like
And
getting
he again,
worse.
he wanted to leave. He was like, "I don't wanna stay here." And Lucas was like, "We don't have anything better to do. I wanna do this." And yeah, so it really made me mad that yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
I know. Yeah.
okay, so the light. Phyllis mentioned something about bacteria and like bioluminescence, but I feel like we never got an actual
Right.
okay.
Yeah. So I think she was making all of that up because obviously you see something like that and her being the scientist brain that, she has, she's like, I have to explain this. Like, what is this? And I think that it was like a little magical realism, obviously. Like, it kind of explains it a little bit more towards the end that like she wasn't the only one that had like a special power. Yeah, there was like other people. I don't know if I'll be able to find it, but there were other people that had not the same thing that she did. So when I read that, I almost thought it was them adapting to their new environment
Oh, that's interesting.
because like with the light, with all the lights going out, and now she has this light, and then there was this other thing. So I almost think like someone said that the dad was the light pirate. I think she was the light pirate.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
chills. I have
I
goosebumps.
know, I know, but let me see if I can it was in the last, part, and it
Like in
wasn't
that
that
time.
long. Um, I wish I would have, like, tabbed it or something, but there was another person that had some other type of power, and, um
Was it after she had aged or was it when she
yeah,
first
it was after she had aged and they kind of made, like, that new community,
yeah.
um So I'm gonna try to let's look through it real quick.
Okay.
But yeah, she had mentioned something about that, like when she's kind of reflecting on the community and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um, oh, one of the children here could see through the darkest nights as if as if they were day. Another can hold her breath underwater for a long, long time. Another has learned to hear the fish chattering beneath the waves. Waves. They do not call these gifts magic, but they do not call them science. They call them what they are, change. And that's on page 318, about like midway through.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, so it's them like I thought of it as adaptation. Like she called it change. I'm like, they're adapting to their new environment. I mean, that gave me chills when I read that to you.
I don't even know if you can see them, but
I know you never can, but yeah, seriously,
oh
that
my God,
is wild to me.
that
So I was like,
is.
she wasn't the only one. Well, we don't really know that because this is when she's much, much older, but
Yeah.
I'm assuming if they have that, so yeah. So people are adapting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And maybe she was like the first.
we don't
Maybe.
know.
Yeah.
We don't know. Yeah. But the one that we learned about first. So but yeah. Because I think it was probably because of that storm, because that's when it really like took them out. But then things were happening in Miami. Like, was there a person from Miami that started, that stayed behind? Like, we still don't have the grand scope of things. Like, we only saw Rudder. We only saw what happened in Rudder. And briefly they mentioned other places, but they didn't really tell us like the full scale like we had of that place. So, but yeah, knowing that other people are adapting and changing and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so cool. I can't believe that didn't register in my mind as
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. It stuck out to me. So
see, this is why we have co-hosts.
yes, this is why we have discussions about books.
Oh, I love it. Okay. Yeah. But
Yeah.
now that
So back to the light now. I definitely think that it was like a magical adaptation of like her new environment and stuff like that. Obviously, a little bit of magical realism. But I think that because Phyllis didn't understand it, she was trying to. I think she knew. Like this is not normal, but she was like, I'm going to explain it away. I'm going to explain it away. But I do think eventually she came to be like, okay, I know it's not this. She has some special power. So,
all right, I feel like this story was going to go in a much different direction. I think that's why I didn't love it as much. I also only listened to the audio, so I'm sure I missed it. Yeah, so I did a tandem read. So I was reading it as I was listening to it, but I went for a walk. I think it was like Tuesday or Wednesday, and I was towards the end of the book. I had like an hour left of it, and I went for a walk and was only listening to it, and I was kind of bummed. Like I wanted to go back and re-listen while I read, because I agree. I think this is one of those books like you need to have your eyes on the page to really
yeah.
absorb
Yeah, I
everything.
did a tandem read the whole way through. I think I read it in a day because I just couldn't put it down. And I'm not, I mean, people that know me know I'm not a writing girly. I'm not a character driven, reader. But there was something about this. The writing was absolutely I can't even describe what it was about the writing that I liked. I just know that it spoke to my soul.
Yeah.
And then like the characters, because it had that like almost like historical fiction, like we got to spend a large amount of time with them, but it didn't feel like you did, because it was like in chunks, like, and you had those like forward moments. But yeah, there was just something so magical about it to me.
Felt like there could be a sequel. Wanted more about all these little things.
Yeah, I would read a sequel, but that
Yeah.
makes me also want to go read that other book, not the
Yeah.
memoir, but the other one, because I'm like, ooh, she really does this well. Wonder what that one's like.
Yes. So this one definitely had a very, very literary feel. So.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So I know we mentioned Where the Crawdads Sing. I mentioned Waterworld, but did this book remind you of any other works?
Yeah, I think like I mentioned, like The Walking Dead, like
Yes.
it obviously different, but the isolation, trying to seek community. What other things did I get from it? I didn't even think of Waterworld. That's so cool that you thought of that. I don't know. I think that's like mainly the ones, I mean, obviously you can compare it to other dystopian books,
Yeah.
like, oh, it's like, Divergent or whatever. But I feel like it kind of stands on its, I think it's because it's climate fiction and I haven't really read that before. And it was so much like weather focused and water focused. So yeah, it just kind of stands kind of on its own.
Yeah. Have you read What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher?
No.
So there is a character, and oh my goodness, every time I get on lives, just information leaves my
Because you're put on the spot,
brain. Okay, bear with me 1 second. What moves the dead? I'm just looking it up on, I want to say Potter, Mrs. Potter. Oh yes, Miss Potter. Okay, thank you. So, there is a character in What Moves the Dead. She is a mycologist, I believe. So she
Mm.
specializes in like fungus and just she's very
Okay.
fancy. And I'm like, Phyllis, like,
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I like I said before, I love Phyllis,
mhm,
so I would probably like that character as well.
yeah. Hello, thanks for joining. Just hopping on. I read this book a while back, but this book felt really special when I read it. I don't think it gets enough love. It's so beautifully written and stuck with me. Yeah.
Agree.
Yep.
Yeah.
This will definitely stick with me as well.
Yeah.
Honestly think this was so unique. It was a breath of fresh air. It's nice to read a book that is just different once in a while. Yeah.
Yeah. That is one thing that stuck out to me. That's why I was like, I could get bits and pieces, but like really it just felt so unique to me. I even started like looking up other climate fictions and I was like, this one doesn't sound good. This one doesn't sound good. I was like, this is gonna be like my one recommendation. If someone's like, do you have like a climate fiction rec? Like
All right. So, do you have any final thoughts? And then what did you end up rating it?
final thoughts, man. Okay, so I will say that the first part of the book was very captivating to
Mhm,
me. And then the second half, it really slowed down a lot, but it remained easy to follow. I'm known for my character lists and books that I read. Didn't need to do that. Didn't tab one thing, but I still remembered that thing about their powers and where to find that. Like, I
mhm,
just feel I was so engaged with the
mhm,
story and it beautifully written and very special. And I don't, even though it has like a really good average star rating on Goodreads
mhm.
and lots of people have read it and stuff, I'm like, more people need to read it because I just think it's so different and so unique, like Hannah said.
Mhm.
Um, I love survival stories. And that's what this kind of turned into. And I didn't know it was going to, but it was like survival in a different type of way,
Mhm.
like on a deeper level. Um, and I just, things kept changing. The people had to change with things that were happening in the environment. I loved that.
Mhm.
Back to Phyllis, one of my favorite aspects of the story was Wanda's relationship with Phyllis
Yeah.
and how she became like a pseudo mother figure for Wanda. I absolutely loved that. Um, it's crazy because when I read it, I rated it 4 stars,
Mhm.
which means I really enjoyed it, that it just didn't have that. But honestly, it's sticking with me. And the more I talk about it, the more I realize I love it. The only thing that I didn't like about it, and it's not really like a huge complaint, was the last part was only like like 2 pages. Like it was so the parts weren't balanced. It
Mhm.
was told in 4 different parts and those weren't balanced. And so that's why I was a little confused. Like I feel like if I wrote it, maybe I would balance them a little bit more, but I'm kind of glad that they didn't at the same time because like that last part, while I did get good information and stuff
Mhm.
like that, I was just kind of like, I really liked the third part. I really liked this part. So I don't know. The first half was better than the second half for me. And I didn't really love the ending, love the ending, but like what was going to happen? What was I expecting to happen? So that's why I didn't give it a 5, but it's like a 4.5, a 4.75. Like it is so close to a 5. And I might actually, I mean, this is probably one of those books that I'm going to just give 5 stars because I'm like, I feel like it's so unique and I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
I'll never forget this story. So between 4 and 5 stars.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. That's
Yeah, I
awesome.
was so happy.
Let's see. Melissa says, I read After the Flood a couple years ago, thinking more about the climate change was similar. The magic made this one better. Okay. After the Flood.
Okay, yeah, let's look that up.
Yeah, is that one that you came across when you were
I
looking at?
don't know. I'm gonna have to look at the After the Flood. I'm better at looking at like book covers, and I'm like, oh, I've seen that before.
Yeah.
Oh, that cover's really pretty.
Oh,
I think this is one that I looked up.
it's not terribly old either, from 2019.
Yeah. All right, I think it is one that I saw.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'll have to look into it more. It seemed to get good ratings too. Not as high of a rating, but still a
Yeah.
good rating.
Okay. Awesome. They could totally make this into a movie or show. I would watch. Yeah. Loved We Got All of Wanda's Life. Love the writing.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that I think this would be a really good book to turn into a movie, honestly.
Yeah.
Give it 5 stars. Recommended it to so many people. Oh, good. Love to
Yay.
hear that. Love this one. Solid 4. I feel like it would have been higher if I had tandem read. I just didn't love the abrupt time jumps.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That's always a little jarring. It's like you're kind of in the groove, in the current,
Yeah.
and then you have to like readjust your expectations.
Yeah. It's like while it's good for the story, it's messing with my brain.
Like you have to connect, I guess,
Yeah.
to
Okay, good. This comment makes me so happy. I'm not the only one. Okay, good.
Yay. I think you guys may bump me up to a 4. Oh, good. Definitely has stuck with me, and hearing Gwen's relation to the change and light. Yes. I know. I'm like, I can't believe I missed that, but I
Yay.
Nebraska reads book one summer. Oh, yeah, the After the Flood book.
Oh, okay.
I saw it said something about Nebraska.
Okay.
So whoopsie daisies. Oh my goodness. Where am I going? Okay. So I agree with you that I think the first half of the book was a little bit better. The third part I liked because it's like every other chapter, it was Wanda with Phyllis, and then the next chapter would be Wanda without Phyllis.
Mm-hmm.
Back and forth like that the entire time. I did not care for the chapters without Phyllis.
Same.
So, but the ones with Phyllis, loved.
Yeah.
And then I do kind of agree, like the ending, again, what else could happen? But I think I would have liked to see a little bit more.
It almost jumped too far.
Yeah.
In that last part is what I think happened for me. It was a little too jarring. Like it basically went from her not being born to being born at the end of the first part. And then, okay, she's around like 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like, okay, now she's in her 20s. Now she's in her 30s. Okay, now she's 90 years old.
Yeah.
And you're like, there's a lot of missing time here. Like, can you? So I think it almost needed to be a little bit longer. Maybe they could have even said 10-year, like they could have started it like maybe in her 40s or 50 and then jump. Now she's in her 50s. Now she's in her 60s. Now she's in her 70s. Now I just feel like that was really jarring.
Yeah. Very abrupt.
Yeah, especially that last part. But yeah.
And almost like, I hate to say this, but like when an author just doesn't know how to end a book and they're just like, well, there you go.
Yeah, like, okay, we're done.
Yeah.
She's 90 years old. Yeah, she's going to die now. Bye.
Oh my goodness. So, and I rated it 4 stars.
Yay, that's awesome. I'm so glad that like the people that read it or like enjoyed it. And we even got Sam to bump up her rating. That makes me so excited. Oh, yes.
Mission accomplished. Oh, oops, got a couple more comments. I would get invested and then we would just Zoom. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Years ahead. Yeah. I was kind of bummed too, though, actually, that we didn't. I mean, I felt like the last time Wanda saw Lucas, her brother Lucas, felt like the last time, but then I was kind of bummed that we didn't see him again. So, kind of made me
Yeah, but
feel like how he
made
was.
me so happy that he made that trek because the time before that, I thought was gonna be the last time. So when we got that one last time, I was happy, but then I was like you, I was, like, sad, like, but you know what? When her dad washed away when that dam broke, I was like, "Bye." I mean, I was sad too because, like, that's all she had, she didn't have any other family. Lucas was gone by then, Flip was dead, her mom was dead. I mean, she had Phyllis, and yeah, Phyllis was strong. I'm glad she had her because she basically taught her everything she knew because I don't think her dad taught her very much. So,
No.
yeah.
Mm-mm. Alrighty. Well, thank you again, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Gwen, for reading this with
Oh,
me.
I'm so happy I did.
So next month, you guys, for September, we are going to be reading. Oh, hello. Oh, there we go. Hello by Ian Reed, and my co-host is going to be Keisha of A Book Like You.
Yay, I'm so excited about that one. I have been wanting to read it forever, so I'm definitely going to try to join you guys for next month and read.
Good. I'm so glad. Yeah, I've never read an Ian Reed, so I'm
Ooh, okay, you're in for a treat then.
excited.
Yay.
Alrighty. Well, again, thank you, everyone. And oops, there's a couple more comments. Let's read those real quick. Thank you so much for another great discussion. You're welcome. Thanks for joining. Been really enjoying breaking out of my comfort zone. I love that because that's exactly what I wanted to do. So
Yeah.
thank you, ladies. So excited to read Foe with you. Yay. All right, perfect. Well, thank you again, everyone. We will see you next month. Bye.
Bye.